reminded me very much of a crossing between Animal Crossing and Legends and Lattes. Hi, I'm Ashley, and welcome to my channel. At the time of filming this video, it is Sunday, July 14th, and the summertime blues have officially hit me. So I know a lot of people get the winter blues, but I get the summertime blues because summer is just not my favorite. I don't like the heat, and since I'm not in school anymore, I don't have summer vacations to look forward to, so that's kind of depressing. And I think it is especially hitting me right now because last week was Summerween, so I took some time off from work and I had a lot of fun doing Summerween, but then on Wednesday I had to go back to work, and just the last 4 days of work have just been really stressful and not fun. So in order to feel a sense of joy again, I'm throwing my current TBR out the window. And in this video, I am going to be reading books that just sound like they're going to be cozy and comforting and sound like they're going to make me happy and make me smile. So let's talk about my TBR for this video. So my TBR for this video, I'm keeping it flexible because I do have my eye on 3 books in particular, but if at any time I feel like those books aren't making me happy and are not making me smile, then I will be DNFing them right away. And I'm actually really bad at DNFing. I don't remember the last time I DNF'd a book, and I usually don't read too many books that I feel like DNFing. But there was one book at the beginning of this year that I probably should have DNF'd, but I didn't. I pushed through because I'm always like, well, what if it gets better? And what if I actually end up enjoying it? And if I don't continue that, I'll never know if I'll enjoy it or not. So, but that being said, in this video, I'm going to try to be ruthless about DNFing. So the 3 books I have my eye on are all ebooks, and I have my tablet here because my Kindle is currently charging. So the first book is actually one that I just stumbled across on Amazon this week, and it just sounds absolutely perfect. It sounds like it's going to be cozy and put a smile on my face, and that book is Demon World Boba Shop. So just look at that cover. I'll post a picture of it on the screen because it's kind of glaring. But the cover alone just screams cozy vibes. And so this one is about a guy who dies in our world and is reincarnated in a fantasy world. And he opens up a tea shop. And so it's just about his cozy days at the tea shop and the people that he meets. And it just sounds perfect for what I'm looking for right now. And then the next book is also one that I just recently stumbled upon on Amazon this week. And that is I Ran Away to Evil by Mystic Neptune. And so this one, again, the cover just screams cozy vibes. So this one is about a heroine who is supposed to go off and slay the evil demon lord, but she doesn't want to do this, and she's never really liked fighting. She'd much rather be in the kitchen baking cookies. And also, our evil demon lord doesn't really like being an evil demon lord. And so when she shows up one day, reluctantly, to kill him, he invites her in for tea. And so this one just also sounds like it's going to make me smile and happy. And then the third book I have my eye on is actually one that I mentioned in my recent July releases video, and that is Illustrated Girl by Joseph Angelini. And again, in this one, our main character gets transported into her favorite fantasy series, and it just also sounds like it's going to be fun and a goofy time. So those are the 3 novels I have my eye on, but I also want to read some manga in this video as well. So as a teenager, I used to read so much manga, but then when I got into college, I didn't really read as much anymore. But a few years ago, I started getting back into manga. But so far this year, the first manga I read was just recently in Summerween. So that is a crime, and I need to read more manga this year. And I have no excuse because I have unread manga on my bookshelf. And so I have 2 of those series right here with me. And the first one is this one, The Savers Book Cafe Story in Another World. So I got these last year for Christmas, and it just also sounds like it's going to be a cute, cozy time. And again, it's about a girl who gets reincarnated into another world. And she gets reincarnated into the other world to be their magical savior, but she's like, nope, no thank you. And instead she opens up a cozy book cafe. So I'm really excited to read these. And then the other series I have here is Weathering With You. So this manga series is actually based on a movie of the same name by the director Makoto Shinkai. And Makoto Shinkai is a famous anime film director, and he did Your Name, which is really popular. And I love that one, but I also really love this movie as well. So I have the manga right here, and I'm excited to read these. And I'm thinking I might also try to get my hands on the movie and rewatch that, because the last time I saw it was in theaters when it first came out, and I think that was back in 2020, and it was the last movie I saw before everything shut down. And actually, sadly, that was the last movie I ever saw in that theater because it shut down and then it never reopened again, which was sad. But in addition to reading novels and manga, another thing I'd like to do in this video is some cozy gaming. And so as a teenager, I used to play a lot of video games, and my favorite type to play were JRPGs. And I still love those, but the problem is they're just really long and they take a lot of time, and I don't have a lot of time to invest in video games right now. So that's why I haven't played any recently. Though my husband plays plenty, so I watch him play sometimes and I live through him. But I would really like to start getting back into gaming again. And I think cozy gaming will be perfect for me because it seems like it'll be less of a time commitment and easy to like pick the game back up after not playing for a while. And so I have my Switch here. Not sure if you can see it, but I have Harvestella and I have Spiritfarer on here. And Harvestella, I did start, I played the demo, and then I bought the game, and then I did that thing where I didn't pick it back up even though I was enjoying it. And then Spiritfarer, I haven't played yet, but I've heard nothing but good things from it, from online and from a coworker. And I have heard it's a little sad, but I am interested in checking that one out as well. So hopefully I'll be able to do some cozy gaming in this video. Okay, so I think I've rambled on long enough about books, and this intro is probably too long. So I am going to get into reading. And for the 3 novels that I have mentioned, I have downloaded the samples for them onto my tablet. So I'm going to start by reading those to make sure I do enjoy them before I actually buy them. And so I think I'm going to start with Demon World Boba Shop, because this one just sounds like it's going to be exactly what I need at the moment. And I have already peeked at the very beginning of it, and the very beginning of it just reinforces the whole cozy feeling of it. And the very beginning passage just oozes comfort, and it sounds like it is going to be exactly what I need at the moment. And so I'm just going to read that very beginning passage right now so you can just see how cozy it sounds. So it's Chapter 1, Terms of Relocation. For Arthur, waking up was usually harder than this. Most days it was painful, a cross between the not quite healed aches of a late night and the bitter realization that he was about to have to get up, shower, and go to work. This was another kind of waking up, a better kind. This was how it felt after a mid-afternoon nap in an absolutely quiet house, surrounded by warm blankets and knowing that tomorrow was yet another day off. So that's just the very beginning of it, and I have good feelings about this one. So I'm going to go read more of this, and I will be back with an update when I have more thoughts. This is funny. So, our main character Arthur has died in our world and now has a chance to be reincarnated into another world, and they can influence the world that they're put in by choosing a certain words. So someone who wanted to find love would say romance, and that one would put them in a world where they're more likely to find romance. And our main character asks what's the most popular word that people choose, and the person that he's talking to replies, "The most popular word isn't one you'd understand actually, but the most popular word from your world is adventure, and it's the most popular by far. We've seen a sudden surge in harm recently, but we do our best to discourage that." And already I can see the anime influence in this. Oh, and then, in the next paragraph, the main character says the word anime and relates it to harems. Oh, this is already so heartwarming. So Arthur is immediately dismisses harem. He's like, no, I don't want that. And then he's like, oh, adventure sounds appealing, but it doesn't quite seem right for him. And then he says, is it possible that you could do something with nice, the word nice, because he just wants to live a nice, peaceful life, because his life before, he was a workaholic, and he doesn't remember actually enjoying life since, before college, which is sad. And so then the old man says, nice? The old man said, beaming, yes, I think I can do a great deal with that. It just makes my heart happy already. And then the chapter ends, and he did. Hi, so I'm back with an update because I did just finish the free sample of Demon World Boba Shop. And actually, so the fruit sample ends on chapter 7, but a couple pages into chapter 7, and where it ended on a cliffhanger. And so that was mean. And so I definitely want to read more, and I'm enjoying it so far. So I'm going to go purchase the ebook now. And so far, the story feels very comforted and very lighthearted, and it's definitely making me smile and making me feel at peace, which is exactly what I wanted. And so in this book, our main character is Arthur, and so he dies in our world from working too much, and then he has the chance to be reincarnated into another world. And so he's reincarnated into another world, but not as a baby, but as a teenager. And so he wakes up in this other world, and at first he is scared because when he wakes up, the first thing he sees are these people who don't look like humans at all. They look like demons, and one of them looks like a tree person. The other one is like a red demon with horns. And so Arthur is afraid of them, and he runs away from them, and so they start chasing after him, being like, hey, it's okay, I know we're scary, but we're only trying to help. And so once Arthur gets over that and meets them, they turn out to be really nice, and everyone in this world so far has just been really nice. And so none of them look human. They look like you have the tree people, you have the demon-like guy with red skin and horns, and then there's like other people who just look like a cross between like humans and animals. Like there was one creature that looks like a porcupine but also has human features. And so Arthur then starts to learn about the world, and he learns that in this world people have different classes, and these classes determine your job. So in that way it's kind of like a video game. And another way that is like a video game is they have status screens that pop up that show like their skills and stuff. And in this world, it's when you are a teenager, that's when you end up figuring out your class and start to develop it. And so Arthur ends up attending a class to try to figure out what he wants to do and what he wants his skill to be. And so that's at the point where I'm at in the story. And so far I'm enjoying it, and also like the writing is very easy to read too, and so it flows very well, so that also helps. And so now I'm gonna take a break for lunch, and I'm gonna watch an episode of anime, and then after that I'm actually gonna go to my parents for a couple of hours this afternoon. And so I was thinking while I drive there I could listen to an audiobook. I tried to see if there was an audiobook for this book, but apparently there isn't. But I found out that there is an audiobook for one of the other books that I was interested in, and that one is I Ran Away to Evil has an audiobook, so I have downloaded that, so I will start listening to that when I drive to my parents in a little bit. So it is Tuesday, July 23rd, and I am back with an update. It has been a little over a week since I last updated this vlog, and I have done a lot of reading in that time, so I have lots of things to talk about. So first off, I did finish Demon World Boba Shop, and I love this. It was exactly what I needed at this time. It was lighthearted, it was mostly low stakes, it made me smile, and it felt like a warm hug. It reminded me very much of a cross between Animal Crossing and Legends and Lattes. Animal Crossing because the townspeople in Boba World Tea Shop are animals, and a large part of the book is our main character Arthur forming relationships and connections with the townspeople. And another big part of the book is about Arthur figuring out what he wants to do in this new world, and as you can probably tell from the title, he ends up opening a bubble tea shop. And so that part of the book reminded me of Legends and Lattes. And so this book felt very slice of lifey as we are following Arthur on his journey to becoming a bubble tea master. And it's very interesting to read about because no one in this world knows what bubble tea is. And so it's kind of like coffee in Legends and Lattes where a lot of people don't know what coffee is. There's also a little bit of romance in here too that is just super cute, sweet, and innocent feeling. And so I just definitely recommend reading this if you are looking for a book that feels cozy and comfy and just overall has low stakes and just feels like a warm hug. So after reading Demon World Boba Shop, I did pick up the Savior's Book Cafe story in Another World. And I ended up devouring these. I have 4 volumes of it, and this series I actually learned is 5 volumes long. If I knew that, I would already have the 5th volume. So I ordered the 5th volume after reading all 4 of these. Unfortunately, it's not getting here until this Thursday. I read the first 3 of these in one sitting, and then I read the 4th one the next day. And I think this might be a new favorite manga series. I just loved it so much. And this series definitely feels like a warm hug in manga form. So our main character in this manga is 33-year-old Tsukina Mizumori. And she lives in modern day Japan, and she's very content with her life because she has a stable job, and in her free time she's able to indulge in her hobbies of reading and cooking. However, one day everything changes when a god from another world shows up and tells her that she has been chosen to be a savior for his world. And she, of course, is not impressed because she already has a life established in Japan and has what she wants, so she doesn't really want to start over in a new life. And she tells him this, but he pretty much says that she has no choice. She has to go to this other world and become a savior. But the god does say that in return for her going to this other world, she gets to have one wish. So that's how she finds herself in a fantasy world as an owner of a book cafe on the outskirts of the main town. And so Tsukina is pretty much just planning to lie low in this new town and to live a cozy life and just indulge in her hobbies of reading and cooking. But then she ends up encountering another fellow bookworm who just happens to share her tastes in books and is also a mysterious, good-looking guy. And so our story goes from there, with it exploring her everyday life in this world and also her forming a relationship with this mysterious book lover guy. And just from the very first pages, this book made me smile, and it just very much felt like being wrapped up in a warm and comforting blanket. And there is some drama in this book to keep things interesting, but it's never drawn out and it's always dealt with pretty quickly. And then the story just goes back to focusing on Tsukina's everyday cozy life and her budding relationship with a fellow book lover. So I do very definitely recommend checking out this series, especially if you like manga and if you're just looking for something that's just like really cozy and super cute. So now to talk about what I'm currently reading. So I'm currently reading I Ran Away to Evil. And I did start this on audiobook when I was reading Demon World Boba Shop, and I had mixed feelings about the audiobook because the story has dual perspectives, because you have our main girl character Henrietta and you have our main guy character Keith, and so their chapters are each voiced by different voice actors, and I really like Henrietta's voice actor, and Keith's though I didn't like as much, but it's growing on me by now. And one other thing that is throwing me off with the audiobook is during their perspectives, say we're in Henrietta's perspective and Keith has a line, that line will be voiced by Henrietta's voice actor. But then when it's Keith's chapter, you have Keith voice acting his own lines and then him voice acting Henrietta's lines. So it just feels a little off because you kind of get used to the voices in one perspective, but then you switch over to the other perspective, and then the voices sound different, if that makes sense. But like I said, like the voices have grown on me, so I am enjoying the audiobook, but I'm also now physically reading it on my Kindle as well. And so I am about halfway through this book, and I am really enjoying it. Like Demon World Boba Shop and the book Savior's Cafe in Another World, it also has cozy vibes, and it is just like overall a very fun read. And so as I mentioned before, this book follows the alternating perspectives of our two main characters, Henrietta and Keith. So at the beginning of the book, Henrietta's father orders her to go and kill Keith, who is a dark sorcerer and dark lord of the dark enchanted forest. However, through a series of events, Henrietta doesn't kill Keith and instead becomes his guest. And so our story goes from there, with Henrietta just learning about the dark enchanted forest and meeting its inhabitants, and also coming to know Keith, and the two of them grow closer and develop feelings for each other. So now for my thoughts. I am very much enjoying this book so far. Like Demon World Boba Shop, it is a fun and mostly lighthearted read. However, in contrast, I Ran Away to Evil definitely feels more satirical in nature, and there's also more action and more of a focus on romance. And I really like how I Ran Away to Evil takes the concepts of good and evil and flips them on their head, because it clearly becomes apparent that even though Henrietta grew up in the kingdom that's supposed to be good, it's actually not really good, because one of the first things that you see in chapter 1 is her father just being really mean to a maid. And then when Henrietta gets to the dark enchanted forest, everyone is immediately nice to her and welcomes her with open arms. And the dark enchanted forest is supposed to be like the evil place. So I think that is an aspect of the book that just makes it a lot of fun to read. And also something else that made me chuckle was, in Henrietta's world, they have a 6-day work week, and so they only get 1 day off during the week. But in the dark enchanted forest, they only work 4 days and they get 3 days off. And so right there again, you have like the flipping of what is good and what is evil. And I also am really loving the characters of Henrietta and Keith too. Henrietta is definitely a sunshiny character, and she's always seeing the positive in things, and she can make friends with just about anyone. And I really like that about her character. And she also loves to bake, and that is another thing in this book. There is a lot of talk about delicious desserts and foods, and just reading this book makes you want to bake and eat some really good food. And another aspect of this book that makes it a lot of fun to read is just the chapter titles are so much fun. For example, chapter 1 is called Gosh Darn Isn't Very Vicious. And then another example is chapter 3 is titled Bridge Trolls Are a Delight, because that's the other thing that happens in this book. Henrietta becomes friends with the troll that guards the bridges in the dark enchanted forest. And then I also really like Keith as well, and he is supposed to be this evil dark lord, and people call him his viciousness, but in reality he's just a really nice guy who doesn't want to be evil and just like spending his time tinkering with magic experiments. And so I just like the dynamic of the two of them, and you can see them like developing feelings for each other, and they're just very cute and also awkward around each other at times. And also just something that's really small detail but I also really liked is at the beginning of each chapter, underneath the chapter title, is just like a little picture. For example, chapter 1 just has this little picture of a teacup. And then chapter 2, for whatever reason, has a slice of pizza. I don't know if you can see that. And then also the chapters in this book are really short, so it's very easy to just be like, oh, just one more chapter, just one more chapter. And I also wanted to mention, while this book is mostly lighthearted, there is some discussion of some serious topics. For example, Henrietta grew up her whole life just doing what her parents wanted her to do. So Henrietta's parents, they often call her Henry because they wanted a boy, but they have a curse on them so that they can never have another child. So they pretty much treat Henrietta like how they want her to be and don't like treat her as her own person. And so at one point in the book, Keith asks Henrietta what she wants him to call her, and he's like, do you want me to call you Henrietta? And she has to stop and think, because no one ever calls her Henrietta. Her parents just call her Henry all the time. So she has this moment where she's just like, do I want him to call me Henrietta? Who is Henrietta? And so it's kind of like sad, and it's something that she has to work on throughout the book, is discovering who she actually is, who she wants to be, as opposed to being what her parents want to be. She has to learn to be who she wants to be, and she has to develop her own sense of worth and her own sense of self. So those are all my thoughts about I Ran Away to Evil for the time being. Hi, so I'm in the middle of making my brownies, and I'm also listening to I Ran Away to Evil on audiobook, and I just had to pop in because I'm on chapter 76, and Keith was just saying how he loves autumn, and I was like, me too, and how he can't wait for fall to come again because of the cozy sweaters and tea and scones and just the overall vibes of autumn. And I was like, yep, I feel you, Keith. I feel you. And that's all I wanted to say. I just needed to talk about that. Okay, back to my brownies I go. Hi, so it is now Friday, July 26th, and I am back with a reading update. So yesterday morning, I finished reading I Ran Away to Evil, and I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun, and it definitely reminded me a lot of Assistant to the Villain, so if you like this one, you'll probably like I Ran Away to Evil. Also, the last 100 pages of this book were super thrilling and exciting, and they actually had kind of high stakes, and I wasn't expecting them to be that thrilling or for my heart to start pounding as much as it did. And I knew something was going to happen near the end, but I didn't think that what did happen was what was going to happen. And my favorite part of the book was definitely the romance between our main characters, Henrietta and Keith. And they were utterly adorable, but also the relationship just felt really well balanced and healthy, and I really appreciated that. For example, the two of them, they take turns saving each other. Like, there's sometimes when Henrietta saves Keith, but then there's also times when Keith saves Henrietta, and I just really like that balance in their relationship. And also, they actually communicate with their words when they have problems. So there was no silly drama because of miscommunication in this book, and that made me really happy because I hate when miscommunication is used in that way. It drives me absolutely crazy. And also, in case you're wondering, there is no spicy scenes in this book, so Keith and Henrietta's romance is just really super cute, sweet, fluffy, and adorable. And then the ending of the book was really cute, and it wrapped everything up really well. And in case you were wondering, the baby griffins that are on the cover do make an appearance in the book, so they are relevant. And speaking of the end of the book, this book does have a sequel coming out in November, but the sequel actually follows two characters that were minor characters in this book. So I think this series is going to be like one of those series where you can read each book as a standalone, but they take place in the same world. And I really appreciate series like that. So those are all my thoughts on I Ran Away to Evil. I really recommend it if you're looking for a really cute and lighthearted, cozy read with romance that does have some action and some exciting moments in it as well. And then this morning, I read volume 5 of the Savers book Cafe Story in Another World. And this one, just like the rest of the series, was completely adorable. And if you're looking for a series that is super cute and cozy and adorable, then I definitely recommend checking this one out. It's only 5 volumes long, so it's also not too much of a time commitment as well. So next, I think I am going to read Weathering with You. So this series is only 3 volumes long, so I have all 3 of them here. Then after I read these, I shall hop into Illustrated Girl. Hi, so I'm back with a reading update, and to wrap up this video, so my last update, it's been like a month since my last update. Today is September 11th, and my last update was back in August, and I finished the last book for this video at the beginning of August. So for whatever reason, it's just taking me forever just to come and film the final part of this video. So here I finally am because I would like to get this video finished and edited and up before the official end of summer and the official beginning of fall, since this is more like a summerish video. And then after this video, I'm going to be doing more fall videos. So let's talk about the final books I've read for this video. So the first ones were the 3 manga volume series Weathering With You, which is based on the movie by Makoto Shinkai. So this manga follows teenager Hodaka, who runs away from his small island town and goes to Tokyo because he's pretty much just lived on his hometown island and never seen like any place else, so he wants to see more of the world. But unfortunately, when he gets to Tokyo, he quickly learns that the city is not very kind to underage teenagers. And then he ends up meeting a girl named Hinata. In the world of the story, it's just been like raining all the time. But it turns out that Hinata has the power to make the sun come out. And so the two of them end up teaming up and they end up like running a small business where Hinata and Hodaka go around and Hinata makes the sun come out for people who need a sunny day for whatever reason. So our story goes from there. And it's just like such a beautiful story of like love and loss and hope. I love the original anime movie, and I think this manga is also just as beautiful and just as good as the movie. That being said, it has been a while since I've watched a movie, and I unfortunately haven't had a chance to rewatch it yet. But I'd say the art in here is just as pretty as the art in the movie. But I do know, like, the one thing that I remember from the movie that was really, really good and amazing was the music, and unfortunately you don't get that in here. So I do think that is one thing that this manga is lacking that the movie does have. But also, I do think that in the manga you get some extra scenes that aren't in the movie that explore the story from some of the other characters' perspectives that I thought was very interesting in here. Yeah, so that's Weathering With You. I definitely recommend both the manga and the movie. Now let's talk about the last novel that I read for this video, which was Illustrated Girl. So this is a YA fantasy book that follows teenager Holly, who gets transported into the fantasy book, The Chronicles of Lucitopia. She becomes a character in that book. She becomes Princess Pleasant. However, she gets transported into the book at the worst time possible, because at the point where she's transported into the book, the hero has died and the villain has won. So Lucitopia is just an awful place to live in at that point. And living there is such a nightmare that Holly wants nothing more to actually escape that world and go back to the real world. But in order to do so, she has to make a real person, a reader, fall in love with her. And she only has 15 days to do this before she is stuck in Lucitopia forever. So up to this point, she's really hasn't left her tower that much, and she's kind of just like been waiting for things to get better, but they haven't. And so she decides to take matters into her own hands and to stop waiting around for things just to magically get better. So she leaves her tower and she embarks on a journey. And the journey results in her traveling back to the beginning of the book, where she ends up meeting and teaming up with the hero of the story, a handsome and virtuous knight named Torvald. And together they embark on the quest to stop the evil sorcerer from taking over the world. So now for my thoughts. So I end up really enjoying this. I thought it was a fun, adventure-filled tale with a sweet and innocent romance. I enjoyed the satirical tone of this novel. It kind of takes the whole trope of being transported to another world and turns it on its head, because a lot of time in these stories, the characters are transported or reincarnated into a fantasy world and they have some like superpower and they're just happy to be there and it's a wonderful place to be. And all these good things just keep happening to them. But in this story, you have the total opposite. Our main character is reincarnated as a princess who really has no power. She's locked in a tower. And the world of the story is just awful, and all she wants to do is go home. And so the overall tone of the book is very much just a fun, lighthearted one, and this tone is reflected in the chapter titles. For example, one of the chapter's titles is He's Pretty But He's Got an Attitude. Another one is That a Hedgehog in Your Pocket? So those are just a lot of fun. While most of the book is just lighthearted and fun, there is also an important message that the book is conveying as well, and that message is summed up very well in a quote from the book that says, "No more waiting around to be saved. Make your life the story you'd want to read." And so I think that's a very important message that the book conveys. And also, like, while the book is very fun, you also get some glimpses at Holly's life and how her real life hasn't actually been that great. And so that's, like, interwoven into the story very well as well. And another thing I enjoyed about this book was the romance between Holly and Torvald. It was just very innocent and cute and sweet. And it's fun because in the beginning, Holly is like, she's clearly attracted to him, but she's like, oh no, he's a book character. Like, I cannot get feelings for him. So she fights her feelings, but then regardless, she still ends up finding herself falling for him. It all ends up working out very well in the end as well. And also I have to mention that this book has a temperamental unicorn named Rancor, and I loved him so much. In this book, everyone, like, fears unicorns. Like, they're scary creatures. And this unicorn, like, he hates everyone except for Holly. Like, he'll do anything for Holly. And I just thought that was really cute. And so that's Illustrated Girl. I definitely recommend it if you're just looking for a fun, adventure-filled story that has a little bit of romance in it. I hope you found this video to be fun and also just to be calming and relaxing. And I know that personally for me, after reading all these books, I definitely felt at peace. So the books definitely did what I needed them to do. And let me know down below if you've read any of these and what you thought of them. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye!